thought they were great, yeah? So what we're going to do, if you've been at these before, we do a little talk back, so we kind of get the inside of them. We're going to let you ask questions, but first what I'm going to do is the front row is the choreographers. Start off and let them introduce themselves.
I'm Rachel Shepard. I'm Sarah Hansel.
I'm Eliza Holmes.
I'm Maggie Cahoon.
I'm Connor White.
I'm Sammy Tremblay. I'm Molly Thomas.
And we are actually missing one choreographer, Georgia Bittenbender. She is on, where's Kevin? What kind of trip is she on?
She's on an expedition with Croca, and actually 2 of her semester mates are here able to see the show, which is a real treat.
Like north of here, and they've been like camping and living outside in Canada and Maine and all this time of year.
She was on Chronicle the other night. She's a star.
It's a little cold. I would be looking for the Marriott. So that's great they're doing that. But one thing about Georgia is she came to me and she goes, well, I'm not going to be here because we also missed her during the rep show. She goes, can I choreograph a piece? And I said, okay, how are we going to rehearse this? And she'd already talked to somebody about rehearsing the piece. And I was very comfortable with Georgia getting it done and with the person she picked to rehearse the piece. And Maggie Cahoon right there rehearsed the piece. And it worked out great. So, so I open it up. Questions? Anyone? Someone's got to have questions, yeah? Marty in the front, yeah.
So what's it like choreographing peers? What are the obstacles, challenges, joys,
Who wants to take it?
struggles?
Okay.
Rachel, you answered this one earlier. Questions so they could get used to it earlier.
Overall, I really enjoyed it, but it was a challenge if it wasn't, because I have, you have a vision and you have a certain way that you want things, and it's harder to critique your friends, but in the long run, they want to be the best they can be. So, yeah.
Anybody else? Just one more person answer that, just from a different side of it.
I guess I will.
Okay.
It's good. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It can be stressful sometimes. Some unwanted circumstances come upon us sometimes that aren't necessarily in our control. But anyway. So
maybe some disagreements. That's life. Yes.
How many of you think you'll still be dancing 10 years from now?
Yeah.
Today was the last day.
Eric.
What was something that surprised each of you as you were choreographing and rehearsing?
Oh, can I? I really liked that people were excited about my piece, and they thought about it outside of our rehearsal and were actually interested. And it made me feel really special that something I created meant something to somebody.
Anybody else?
So, yeah. Sarah and I were the only 2 in our dance, and we were the choreographers. And while choreographing, we were like, oh, we'll do these moves. But then we would run the dance, and we were like, oh my gosh, this is so tiring. Why do we pick these moves? And so it was just like a new discovery, kind of, like pushing limits.
Nice.
Those of you that choreographed also put yourselves in all of your dances. So what is it like when you choreograph yourself and then direct the piece and have to critique yourself within the whole structure?
Oh, it's hard. It's like, you do stuff at home, and then you come and bring it to people, and then you're like, whoa, that does not look as good as I thought it would. Good example, I had one move in my piece, and Sarah and I are really close, but Sarah just looked really goofy. I had to take it out. It's really also looked funny. But
Yeah, it's challenging because also when you're spacing earlier, Reagan had to stand in my spot so I could see like where the spacing is, because if there's an empty spot, you don't know what's happening, and you're like, oh goodness. But yeah, it's really difficult.
And that spacing is in here when they were doing their tech stuff, so they got to boss me around, which they like. Wait, I've got to do this one, Ed, or I'll never hear the end of it.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Nissa.
Someone get bossed around.
So that's a question for the back row, for the dancers. Okay, I had to do that as my youngest, or I would, if I didn't call on her, I'd hear it at home. And
my question's a little gentler from the one that asked, but it's along the same line, and that is for choreographers and those in a particular troupe, making changes. How open did the choreographers have to be to making changes, and how difficult it is when you're not the choreographer to say, this doesn't work for me, or I can't do this, or wouldn't this be better? Is it difficult to do that from both ends?
Corey, anything you want to take that first? Before we throw it back to people that were in the pieces?
Go, yeah.
What?
Mia's got her hand up, so Mia, go ahead.
I think it was like 3 weeks ago, there was one spot in our dance that we had done for a while that we were all, one person at first, I don't think this works, and then we eventually were all just kind of like, yeah, no, that doesn't. And so I think it's tough because, as the taught, you don't want to critique someone's work because it's your friends and it's their hard creative work, so you don't want to interrupt that and ruin their vision, but you also know that it has to be collaborative and make sure everyone is cohesive in the dance. So I think voicing what you think doesn't work in kind words that they would understand as your friend, it's worth it. It's definitely worth it.
Very intelligent answer.
Follow up then, there's a fine line, because also the choreographer, it's their vision, their work. So what you think might not be comfortable on you as a dancer, guess what? If the choreographer thinks it looks good and to their eye, it doesn't matter. As a dancer, you have to go with it. I can tell you how many times I haven't liked costumes I've worn, how many times I haven't liked steps I've had to do, but gotta do it, right? So that's that thing that sometimes you may not feel comfortable with it, but it works in their vision and it's comfortable for them, and it always plays to the audience. So that's one of those fine lines, yeah, that they had to learn through this process. Yeah, go Sarah, and then we'll go to Lily.
Okay, so with just the two of us choreographing, we'd tend to choreograph in the studio so the other person can see it, and sometimes a lot would be like, hey, how about we do this? And I'd be like, oh yeah, sure. Eventually we compromised and figured something out, but yeah, that happened with both of us.
Adding on to that, we would each come up with our own choreography, and I would question some of my own moves. I'd be like, Sarah, what do you do here? I was like, wait, I came up with this. I can decide this. So it was like just like these two ideas where we had to like compromise in certain things, and it was hard for one of us to make a final decision sometimes. It's hard to do.
Lily, what were you gonna say?
Specifically with George's piece, it was hard with things because she wasn't here, so we couldn't be like asking her about it. And that dance was like, it was like pretty athletic, I'd say. So as soon as we were like, Georgia,
Unless it's like a video that I took and I couldn't decide what angle I wanted, so I'm like, all over the place, and you can't even see what George is doing because my head's blocking it. I have a big head. Yeah.
We had to alter a few things, but it was pretty good.
I have a question. When did you start, choreographing and rehearsing, and how many hours for each? What did you say? Each piece struck.
Was it like 9 weeks ago?
It's a new year, like the first year.
Yeah. So
they didn't have a lot of time.
We get an hour a week of studio space because it's booked here. There's not a lot of room to be able to do it. So you shoot over right after school and rehearse until 3:30. So Yeah, we only had like 9 hours really. And then there was snow days, lots of snow days. And they're not helpful.
I started to comment on the other part. I started working on my piece in the summer. The Lord's album came out over the summer, and I fell in love with this song. And I started moving this in my room, and then I was like, wait, that actually could work. So I just kept going with it, and it was a lot harder to choreograph the end because it wasn't natural. But I went with the theme and the moves, and I did it. But yeah, it's a lot of outside work as well with it, other than the 9 hours. Yeah.
Especially I don't think it is for you guys.
Yeah,
because you did it in the studio. But if you're teaching to your peers, you have to come up with it on your own time. And I was just, I don't know when I found.
Yeah.
12 o'clock, let's do it.
Yeah, we did a lot of it in the studio, and by the end of it, we were stressing out because we thought we had more time than was given, and so, but we made it work, I feel like.
They learned on this is that there is time crunch. I mean, our staff feels it all the time with shows and productions and getting it up, and it's like that in the real world, the performance world. All of you at your jobs, I mean, that's part of it. So it's a good lesson for them, not just on the art side of it, the dance side of it, but those life skills, learning oh, I've got these deadlines, I've got to hit these deadlines, I've got to make it happen, and they did. Someone was over here saying they had a question. Yeah,
it was me. So Rachel, you kind of already touched on this, but what came first, the song or the idea for the dance?
Well, I didn't. What? I thought the song just happened, and it just happened. So I was just like I said, I was in my room and I heard the song and I was just I was moved by it, and then I was like, oh wait, there's a show in March. That would work, you know.
As eloquent as a shepherd.
I am.
Hi, Rachel.
Someone else, choreographer? Sammy, you want to throw anything on that?
The song?
Okay, well, we wanted to do a lyrical jazz piece, so we picked a song that was kind of fitting to happiness, because that's not something we see a lot. So we just kind of went with the dances are all not all of them. They were all, a bunch of them were really happy, but in general, a lot of dances are sad instead of depressing. They're good, but they're really sort of sad. Not happy. Yeah.
Now you're getting to see an insight. I mean, you parents know when you get all of them together in the studio all the time, you get to see what our life is like. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, they make us laugh a lot. So, any other questions? Yeah, right here.
How did you decide what type of dancing you wanted to do? Whether it be jazz, tap?
I love tap dancing, so I wanted to do that, and I really like hip hop, so I combined the two.
Yeah.
And I like upbeat kind of things. So. But tap is. Oh, I also love Cardi B. Yeah.
Who doesn't? You know what? You guys have been great. I'm just going to try to go over here. Besides Nissa on that side of the room, anybody?
I'll have a quick comment and a question. My comment is thank you so much to you who pulled off Georgie's dance so wonderfully. I saw it in my kitchen so many times, just Georgie doing it, and it was so nice to see it here on the stage. My question is how I saw it in my kitchen with one person doing it, but then doing it with 5 people, you had different coordination. Did Georgie work to lay that out, or did you kind of do that as a group, or how did that work when you did different things at different times?
Day before Georgia left, she left me a piece of paper with places, and then what she wanted for lighting and costumes, and that was it. And she said where she wanted people, when she wanted them to move, and I was amazed by Georgia. I'm very proud of her and all that she's doing right now. And this piece, it was beautiful and very challenging, but she was very well organized, got it done, taught it to all of us in one day, in an hour, and we videotaped it, and then I kind of just went through and worked with it, but it was definitely a group process with everyone kind of contributing what they remembered. Megan is really good at remembering choreography, so she was really helpful, but yeah, Georgia was incredible on that. thank her very much for everything. I had with Tyler earlier on the lights. I was like, "This is what Georgia wants."
That's the other thing. She just touched on that too. That they didn't just have to worry about the steps. They had to worry about naming their pieces. Obviously, picking who's dancing. They had to worry about their costumes and lighting. You know, I mean, of course, you know, Tyler helped them through with lighting stuff. We did that. I went in and I saw their pieces, but I didn't like say, I think Rachel thought I was going to come in and change stuff all the time. And I'm like, I'm not changing anything. This is your work. I just made little suggestions like, because it is difficult, all of them dancing their own pieces, they don't get to see it. So I made suggestions like video it, so then you can go back and look at the video. And I said, you know, video it, look back, you're going to see where some of your problem spots are. And then let them be and let them have their voice. So, you know, I'll ask a question. What was it like trying to think of lighting, costume, just outside of the choreography? Anybody? Nobody? Hard.
I think for us the name was the hardest.
Yeah.
Because we kind of just like, hey, let's do a dance. Let's do this song. Let's do this. And Eliza was like researching the song, like figuring it out. She's like, let's call it Nomadic Life. Like, let's not. We
had very different ideas.
So we decided on uprooted because it went in with the lyrics, and then it also meant like not living in the past and just going with what's coming to you and just taking that on full force.
Yeah, I feel like we didn't really know what the dance was about until we had finished it. And we had like analyzed the song and the moves in it, and then the message sort of came through. Yeah.
Yes, go ahead, Connor.
So yeah, I asked the group in the Instagram chat what a great name would be for this piece, and no one responded. I think that's the last question. What should we name this piece?
You also asked us in rehearsal, and not as much Rachel, but Maddie and I get really distracted. So then we'd like, be like, and then it's like, Maddie, did you see this today? And then Connor was like, pay attention.
And you're like, shiny things. So I saw a hand go up. Yeah, Ed.
I have a question for the non-choreographers. Given what you've seen, experienced, and heard, would you step up in the future to choreograph?
If I could, I would, but I'm a senior, so unfortunately I would not be able to do it again.
Yeah, it's just
Mia's raising her hand. Lily, did you say you would?
I said bye because I'm gone.
One year.
Maybe like
we're not doing it next year. We only do it every other year. So if you're a junior, do it again.
Well, because next year's a Nutcracker year, then we have time to dance on this weekend.
He's already only one
2 years ago on 2 years from now on this weekend, it'll be this again.
Reagan, I already want to sign up.
Okay. This is the last Young Choreographers Showcase in this building.
Right. Yeah.
Any other questions? There you go, Eric. This guy keeps winning.
I'm curious about, for anyone, any moments that you felt stretched your skills, that you had to grow into something new in order to do it?
Dance skills or like people skills?
Any skills.
People skills.
I also have one. I'm not a jazz dancer, and Rachel came to me and she was like, we're really good friends, and I really love you. Will you be in my dance, please? And I was like, I don't do jazz. And she's like, don't worry, you'll be able to get it. And it was really hard for me to pick up on some of the jazz stuff, but I really wanted to do it for Rachel, so.
Oh, and wait.
Well, let Sam talk. He's been quiet.
I have to say that my ability to count music has
It was so bad. It's literally just 1, 2,
No, it's not that.
3, 4. And Sam would just stand there and not dance. So we made him count. Like I singled him out and I was like, count the music. I'm gonna press play and you're gonna count it. And he's like, Then you did it. Yeah. Good job.
That's the tricky part too for them is when you thing about it is some people once they learn the steps they don't necessarily have to count the music, especially on some of the songs they chose because they're more pop type songs. They're really easy to hear it, and the lyrics are telling you. But when you're in a group with multiple dancers, you've got to get those counts. You've got to have those counts because that's how they're all on the same page. If you start going, okay, well, we don't care about the counts, and you got two off here doing whatever they're doing, another one over here, so it's always tricky. But it's also, too, people hear music differently. So that's where you got to look. The choreographers go, nope, this is the way I want it. This is the way it's got to be counted, and then they got to fall into that. Any other questions? Yeah, yeah, sorry.
I think it was really cool learning how to work together because most of the time working together is, you know, in a group project in science class about genetics. But instead, you get to work with a group of your friends with a passion that you all share. And it's a great experience because you're working with your good friends, the ones who can dance and the ones that are working on it. I still have a lot to learn. But it's fun getting to share that experience of working together on something that you're all so passionate about and all want to excel at. And I think that was a really cool thing to have.
Any more? Yeah, there we go. One of our old dancers got We have also a lot of our old alum in the audience tonight. They can all stand up if they want really quick.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys kind of touched on this, but did you find it was easier choreographing with a storyline or choreographing for aesthetic purposes only? That's a tough one.
But she's in college now.
I got this one.
Okay.
Yeah, basically, well, we're going to perform this again, my routine. But it's supposed to be set during World War II. And it's right after the war's ended. And it's like, how are your emotions right after you find out World War II is over?
The loudest laughs are coming from Dad. That's the thing Maud's talking about. There are some dances that have storylines to them, right? And then there are some dances that are just dance to be dance, and that's all the choreographer, what their vision is in seeing it. Even though sometimes I know I've done it, and they can talk to that. Maud, Casey, Aaron, May, they're here. It's like there's no storyline, but this is what we're thinking. If you just think these lines, it's going to get across a feeling to the audience, and then that audience is going to take and get whatever different feeling they take from it themselves. So there's always that balance, and they got to figure that out. And it gets easier. No, it doesn't.
It's so much harder than it seems. I feel like we all definitely. Are we all first time people too?
Georgia has choreographed once before, and
I think you
the rest of you.
We were in it. We were in it.
Yeah, the rest of
I've
you.
been in it, and it's really fun to learn from your peers. But teaching it, you gain so much respect for teachers. Like, shout out to all the teachers that are here.
Yeah, so they're all brand new to this except Georgia. So, any other questions? She left town. She's like, here, I'm out of here. She's like these world-class choreographers. They show up, they have an assistant. But they usually make it back for their premiere. But Georgia's like, yeah, I'm too big for that. We're going to be excited to have Georgia back in the fall, though. Any other questions? Well, that's it then. You know what? One more round for you.